Came right out with it. What time did you get in last night? It was.
In total, there are 7 authors who have contributed to this book. However, you may notice that there are only 5 of us here this evening. Due to unforeseen circumstances, Ada Vance and Judy Williams just can't be here this evening. Now, I know they've asked me to personally apologise and send their regrets. They're just not able to be here. We do appreciate that they could be here, but unfortunately they can't, but we will mention them a couple of times. They won't be forgotten. First of all, how did this book happen? Well, first of all, before we get to that, I have to tell you that the Writers Group was founded 5 years ago now, in 2011, by Helen Corcoran. Under initial funding from Leitrim Libraries and the Arts Office, Helen was able to allow Susie Minto, who was a trained creative group writing leader, to set up the group and lead us in writing. Susie returned to Scotland in 2014, so we decided to go it alone. We decided to rebrand as Scríobh Carrigallen Creative Writing Group and run the group ourselves. We're self-run, self-funded on a voluntary basis.
To Rhonda, coming all the way from Ennis to be here with us here tonight. And also thank you to the rest of you who didn't have as far to travel. Special thanks to my writing buddies for joining the writing group and for making it the success that it is today, and long may it continue. Also, just 2 little thank yous to Neville for the use of the lectern and for Becky for the mic. Again, as Kevin had said, to Mary, Kieran and Tony Fahy for proofing the book for us. And I would just like to ask Mary just to come up. I have a little gift for you.
Oh, very good.
But I just would like to thank again just to Leitrim Libraries for the use of the comfortable space in the library. We very much appreciate it. Now, our writing, we work from triggers, and a trigger can go from anything to a grandfather's clock, to a photograph, to postcards, to anything. Now, the piece I'm going to read to you tonight is, and again, I'm only just going to read a couple of lines, I'm not going to read the whole story. The trigger on the particular night was a photograph which Lionel had brought in, and it was a group of volunteers back in 1921. And this is what it triggered with me, if I can just find my page. Now, I'll just read just a paragraph from it. The title of it is Brave Men. As the dawn was breaking in the east, the cold May fog clung to their sparsely clad bodies as they stood, shoulder to shoulder, in front of the stone wall. All gallant, all scared, but all were prepared to die for what they had fought for, Irish independence. To die for their country, which they loved dearly, to bring about freedom for all and to obtain a sovereign independent state was their ultimate goal. Sinead. Thank you very
much. Since childhood, and she was the first prize winner in the Leitrim Guardian 2016 first prize for one of her short stories. Aisling also won a National Craft Award from the RDS in 2015 and runs the local knitting group in Carrigallen. So can you please welcome the multi-talented Aisling Doonan.
Thank you everybody for coming. It's quite humbling to see so many people in the room. I just have a few thanks to give out. I wanted to thank Gerry for being so receptive to a strange lady approaching him at work and asking him to launch our book. because he didn't know who I was. I wanted to thank the Scríobh writing group as well for being such a welcoming and diverse group of understanding misfits. I wanted to thank Helen and the use of the library, because without it, Scríobh Scribbles would never have happened. And it's such a wonderful, rich resource as well. And Helen is such a quiet champion of people. So you either use it or lose it. And I want to thank family and friends who didn't laugh at the notion or seem overly surprised I was capable of writing. I want to thank you all for your kind words of support, especially to those who were able to make it tonight. So I'm going to read from a story called The Hellfire Club. And the Hellfire Club it's a local landmark in Dublin, and I spent a lot of time there as a child. So, and as it's Halloween on Monday as well, I thought it might be suitable. The Hellfire Club. Is it much further? Helen huffs and puffs under the weight of her backpack, the metal mug clanking against the side zipper. She keeps getting tangled up in the bars of the camping stool she has strapped to the bottom of the nylon bag. I readjust my own life pack, essentials only, and quickly take a photo of her for posterity. No, we're almost there. It's just over the brow of this hill, John replies, turning to give her a cheeky grin. Not having second thoughts, are we? Ben chuckles. His dimples are deep, speared by a pencil kind, and he knows how to use them to charm. I recognise a charmer when I see one, all warm and seductive on the outside, cold as a digital clock on the inside. Not afraid of a few demons and wildcats, are you, Helen? You can trust us to keep you safe. Oh, Ben, Amy gave her a playful dig in the arm. Don't tease. You still try at Disney films, Helen. You're better off sticking with me. I won't let the ghosties get you. Amy giggles and Ben fumes, but they stay close together as they pick their steps, carefully through the loose stones. Helen and John are walking further up the steep muck track side by side. I stay to the rear of the group, always watchful. We used to come here a lot as kids. We used to play hide and seek in the woods there. John stops for a breather and nods his head towards the spruce, larch and beech. We all stand and listen for a few moments to their leaves fluttering away as the breeze wafts through their boughs and mossy trunks. Smaller branches sway, gently slow dancing with an invisible partner. I can see rays of light filled with midges and minute debris of the forest floor. I can hear nothing now, not even our breathing, except the birdsong, an orchestra of men all independently chanting. I try to unravel the individual tunes, the robin, the finch, starling and thrush. I lean back against the large rock that is abandoned in the centre of the track. It is the height of a fully grown man and the width of two. I feel the roughness of the granite under my hands as I sink back against the mass. The sun rays hit the ground sharply before the passing cloud brings a chill and the hair stand up in the back of my neck. A bead of sweat rolls down my temple. The others are simply staring into the forest. They seem mesmerised by the dappling light flitting from tree to tree. The breeze picks up, its icy fingers caressing our exposed skin. The girls huddle together. I think we should go now. Helen is frowning. John picks up on her confusion. What's wrong? The birds have stopped singing.
President. Margaret was the winner of the Doonan Literary Award 2012 and has written plays for Grammar and Consort Theatre in 2008 2009. Margaret Maguire.
To be here, and I really do appreciate that very much. As we say, we write some triggers here, and from one of the triggers I would like to read a short story, and I forgot to say thank you to Scríobh for their support to me on my giant group, and to Kevin for all his hard work during the launch. And I'll go ahead with the story now. I would like to read a story called The Last Night, and if I can find it here now. Just bear with me now, yeah. Hello, she shouted as she waved her two hands in his direction. He looked across the street and his gaze met a stranger. Who is that woman, he thought. He stared after her back. Tall, blonde, long legs, high heels, wearing a short summer dress. Not bad, he thought. but where had he seen her before? Or more importantly, where had she seen him? He went through all the haunts of the last month, ending with the night before. It wasn't late, he said sheepishly. Thank you. The rest of the book.
Thank you, Margaret. The next author coming up is Lionel Mullaly. Now, Lionel has written many short stories for magazines, papers and articles, and he recently won a literary award from the Leitrim Guardian in 2016 for his poem Emeralds. We welcome Lionel Mullaly.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. It is very humbling, as Aisling pointed out, standing up here and looking down at people we don't normally see, and that's the people who read what we write. So it's certainly stepping outside of our comfort zone. Writing by its nature is a very solitary exercise. So I'm very fortunate and very grateful that I've met my friends here in Scríobh who have stayed with me over the years and encouraged what I've done. And of course my family and friends who don't laugh too much when I give them something to read or to look at. I'm not reading from the book. What I will do is I'll read Emeralds. It's short, it's brief, it's to the point, and I'll let you get on with the rest of the evening then. As I said, thank you both very much for coming here tonight. It's very much appreciated. This is Emeralds. With Dad, I braved the slow traffic, his hand holding mine, to the crowds of blue and gold. Flags, scarves and headbands called from the corners as I gripped my crepe paper hat. Lifted over the stiles, on Hogan's bench we settled, and I watched as he followed each ball and score, surrounded by rising and ebbing rows, half standing and shouting, while I wrestled with the Emeralds wrappers to share. Gripping my knee, he'd point and ask, and I'd search the field for the answer, checking the board as our team won. His head bent to mine, asking for my man of the match. Hickey, he suggested to my agreeing nod, or Keevan, and we smiled. Hands held again as he fluently guided the way home across Clonliffe Road, never closer. Now, decades on, my hand now held, I pointing and guiding through the same familiar streets, the same colours calling from the same corners, new Hogan seats craving us, and through the rising and ebbing rows I'll ask, did you see? And his little face will smile and look and search, and we'll share the emeralds, heads bent together at the end to name the best. Brogan we'll agree on, or Dermot and smile, growing closer.
Won awards in the Leitrim Guardian over the last few years, and as you can probably guess, I'm a member of Scríobh and one of the co-founders. The thanks I would like to give this evening are, first of all, to the hotel here, to Doonan and the staff for setting the room up so beautifully and for feeding us in a bit, and to Sheila, Brennan, my wife, and our boys James and John. Couldn't do it without you. To all of you who are attending here this evening, thank you very much for coming. To those who could not be here but sent good wishes, thank you again. On page 134 of the book, there is a page called The Authors, and it just has those two words on it, The Authors. And it's been left that way, if you like, for people to sign, authors to sign the book. So when you buy a copy of the book this evening, if you want it signed by the authors while they're here, go to page 134 and we'll do that for you. The piece I'm going to read is a piece that was written on a particular day in history. It was written on the day that Seamus Heaney passed in August 2013. I watched the 6-1 news that evening. It was the big story. It was the only story in town. And there was massive coverage on the death of this Nobel Prize winner. And I wrote this immediately afterwards. Famous Seamus. After a brief illness came a sudden stillness. Seamus no more will stir outside his own front door. He has slipped away, but his words burrow a little deeper today. On the 6-1 news, Sharon Ní Bhéileán never looked more beautiful in black, as she pressed contributors for words we mortals lack. Yes, they all came to praise and to bury his own phrases all over his head, presidents, poets, people queuing up for their bit to be said. His passport may have been green, and yet he broke bread with the Queen. But what did that matter? All this magpie chatter. Then a professor of poetry, no less, used that most unlovely of phrases. The island of Ireland, which speaks to me of men who went for a pint, but were body bagged the same night. Or women and children who went shopping, but ended up in bits, dark days, when history and misery chimed. The poet of the people, for the people, whatever church, chapel or steeple you attend or none. To him, for us, for everyone. Thank you very much. Our special guest who is going to launch our book tonight is Gerry Boland. Now, Gerry Boland would describe himself as a poet and short story writer, as someone who came to writing late. Originally from Dublin, Gerry has been living near Keedew in Roscommon the last 15 years and is a teacher and an environmentalist. He is no stranger to Carrigallen, and indeed this evening he recognised both my sons as he has visited our national school previously, delivering reading and poetry classes. Gerry has also written 2 travel books about his native Dublin, but is perhaps best known for his series of children's books, known as the Marco books. Marco Moves In, Marco, Master of Disguise, Marco Moonwalker, which have all been popular and successful. Gerry is also in regular demand for appearances in festivals such as Wild Words in Carrick, and he has been published in many numerous Irish and international journals. He has published 2 collections of his poetry, along with the most recent collection earlier this year, The Secret Lives of Mothers. We are grateful and delighted that Gerry is here this evening to launch our collection, and no doubt he will tell you a little bit more about himself and, please God, a little bit more about our book. So please welcome our special guest, Gerry Boland.
And there's probably another 29 or maybe 59 that didn't get in. So congratulations to you, and thank you for inviting me to launch it for you. As Kevin has said, there's 7 writers in it, and it's filled with all kinds of interesting writing, mainly stories actually, short stories, and a number of poems as well. Magical tales, dark deeds, you got a sense of some of them already, infidelity, humour, lots of humour in it, lots of intrigue and surprise, lots of real affection in it as well, unlikely romance, chance and fate, there's something in it for everyone. My recommendation would be probably not do what I had to do because I was launching it, which is read it all in one go, but to dip in and out. Like there's 29 pieces, so you could spend the whole month going through one a day, but you probably will want to read a few at a time. But I probably wouldn't read it from cover to cover because there's so many different pieces in it. My recommendation would be to read it over a week or 2 and dip in and out of it. And you'll find great joy from all of the pieces in it, and very intriguing. I'm particularly glad that I'm launching it because of the importance that I would see of the writing group in communities. Because as Lionel mentioned, or somebody mentioned it being a solitary activity, I can't remember who mentioned that. And it is a solitary activity, and to actually be able to come to a group once or twice a month and to write in a group of people who you trust. But I think trust is a hugely important part of a writing group, because you do write personal things and you do write things that maybe you wouldn't say elsewhere, and a good group will keep it within that room. And it's not that it's a therapy or anything that you do go to write, and it's a creative session, but you do come out, you bring out things that you mightn't feel comfortable bringing out otherwise. So it's great from that point of view. It's very sociable and great for encouragement as well. And a good writing group, as I can see this one is, will push and push, and the next book will be better, and the next book will be better still. And so we're probably seeing the beginning the first steps of individual writing careers, as well as the first big step for the writing group itself. So it's very encouraging, and I think the community should be proud of the group here. And I'm sure as a result of this book that there will be more interest in people joining the group as well. And I'm sure there's some people in the room who might consider doing that as well. And I heard it's not a closed group, so anybody can join. And then it's a lovely book. I was really pleased to get it, because sometimes you see a book by a writing group and there's all little fiddly things in it and drawings and anything to kind of spruce it up and make it look creative. Whereas actually it's a book full of stories and poems, and it is what you get. It's a very nice design actually, and it's very easy to look through. It's professionally done, and it would stand with any book in any bookshop, to be honest with you. So that's good. So congratulations for that as well, to get that so right on your first occasion. I think that's really all I have to say actually. Apart from, again, thank you for asking me to launch it. It's a real honour for me to do that. And I'm going to do that now. I'd like to formally launch the book.
So much for doing that, Gerry, and I appreciate, we all do, everybody coming here this evening. As Gerry actually said, launched the book. John Brennan over there was lifting a box off a cover full of books there. So the next part of the evening is for yourself to go up and buy a book, or buy a couple of copies of the book, or whatever it is, and then we'll get the tea and the sandwiches out, and just enjoy the rest of the evening. And just finally, I would say that the design and the cover of the book was done by one of our members, Julie Williams, who isn't here this evening, so thank you for that, Julie. And just one more time, give yourselves a round of applause, and thank you very much for coming here this evening.